Hi, welcome back to Through Nikki's Lens. I am Nikki and I'm here with another video for you today. Did you know that the foundation to a good permanent residency application is knowing what to expect and creating your Express Entry profile well? When you know what to expect in the Express Entry profile, there are no surprises. You will be able to answer the questions in the profile well. You will start your application, your profile application, filling in the necessary information, accurate data, accurate information, know what to include and what to exclude so that the foundation is solid. When you get that invitation to apply from IRCC for your permanent residency, you won't have many changes or maybe no changes at all. So, watch this video, understand what the profile looks like, as well as information that you need to include in your profile.
I am in my GCK account and I am at the bottom of my page or close to the bottom of my page. And if you can see here where my cursor is, I created this Express Entry profile or started it on the 23rd of March and I have 30 days left to submit. So in total, you have 60 days in which to submit an application on IRCC's website. So I'm gonna, if you see the actions under here, you can continue the profile or you can delete the profile. So I'm gonna click continue profile. And bear with me, my internet. So I am on the profile. If you notice in this application, I have two persons. Me, that's through Lens, that's the primary applicant, and I have Harry Test as my spouse that I indicated in my profile. So to get to this point, you would have needed, and I did a video before showing how you check if you're eligible for Express Entry. And I will link that video so that you can watch it once you're done with this video. So essentially, you go through and you answer the questions, and it will tell you that you are eligible for Express Entry or not. If you're eligible for Express Entry, you follow the steps and it takes you to this page where you would basically just fill in the various applications. So on the left, you will see what the form, the name of the form is, what's the status, and the various options. If you didn't start the form, a particular form, for example, personal details, under options, you will see start form. Since I completed all of them, the status are complete. If you did not complete a form after starting it, you will see in progress as the status. So I've completed or added information in all of the forms except the last one, which I was just waiting to record this video and to fill in the information on the work history for my spouse so that I can demonstrate how you go ahead and you do that. So just to do a quick rundown, I am going on to personal details and it calls for your name, so your first and last name. That information is already filled in, so I can select next. If the information was not filled in, you simply put it in. Once you get to the bottom of that part of the form, you select next, and it will take you to the next section of the profile, the application profile details section of the principal applicant. So it shows that I'm a female, I'm in my 30s, I'm from Jamaica as my country, and my city of birth is Kingston. Once you fill in the information again, and to get to the other part of the application, you can either click on it the section of the application that you want to go to, fill in the information, or you can click next and it automatically takes you to the next part of the application. So, my ID document summary, my apologies. So, the information I put in here or information here is if you haven't filled in the information yet or you have more than one ID document that you want to fill in. So you put the information in at the top, and once you click save and add, it will generate it to the bottom here that says ID summary documents. You can click modify to edit any of the information that you put in, or you can delete the row. So you can add multiple if in your situation. And in this case, I utilized my passport or travel document as the ID type. Just to give you an idea, you can use your national identity document as well. If in your country you have a national identity document and it is valid, you can put it there. So you fill the information in this section and then you save and add. It will generate in this section, and then you fill again and save and add to put in your passport information. And you have to have a passport in order to have an express entry profile. Then we will click on next and move on to the immigration history and citizenship section. And all you will simply do is to read carefully, and that's important, to read carefully and answer the various questions. So fill in information if you have applied to IRCC before and so forth. So once you fill in the information into the profile or into this section of the application, you click next and you go to the other part of the application, which you will put in your family information. We need to know some information about Through Lens's family. Tell us about his or her family. How many family members does Through Lens have? And this should include Through Lens, a spouse or partner, dependent children, and their dependent children. So you fill in how many people are in the application. In this case, it would be the principal applicant and a spouse, so I indicated two, and how much money in Canadian dollars will this applicant bring to Canada to support themselves and their family, and I noted $24,000. You have to ensure that you check on IRCC's website to see how many people, how much money you need to have for the number of persons that would be included in your application. And from what I know, you put in information about persons that might not be accompanying you to Canada. So if you have spouse or dependent children and they're not accompanying you to Canada, you would still have to put the required amount of money for them as well. And we will now move on to the next part of the application, which is the relatives in Canada. So persons can get points in their express entry profile if they have eligible family members in Canada. And family members or relatives, they must be 18 years or older and living in Canada, and they should be a citizen or a permanent resident. And just so you are aware, eligible family members are a brother or sister, and these are biological or adopted brother or sister, stepbrother or stepsister, as well as aunts, uncles, persons, close family members like that. You need to have supporting documents as well. If you are assigned points for having a relative in Canada, you need to be able to prove that by providing the necessary documents. So we're at the end of that application, and you simply select save and exit to go back to the list of applications that you need to fill in. So in terms of the contact details, I don't want the video to be too long, so I'll try my best to go through as quickly as possible. So in this section, you have language and correspondence. So it will ask you what language do you want correspondence to come from IRCC to you in. And I selected English, and then I selected next. So in this section, I just typed up an email address. It's not a real email address, so it will go nowhere if you try to send an email to this. So I just put in the email address and make sure that you type your email address correctly, because you will have challenges if the email address is not correct. This is where IRCC will communicate with you in relation to your application to send you updates and so forth. So after you put in the correct email address, you select save and next. Takes you again back to the list of documents or applications rather, and you select on the next one, which is study and languages. Once it takes you to the page, you would indicate your studies. So we will assess the applicant's secondary and post-secondary periods of study for eligibility for express entry and use them to calculate through lenses score. You can tell us about each period of study by filling in the fields below. So what I did was to basically answer the questions. Here you have to answer the questions pretty well. And based on your answer, you may have to give additional information. So read the questions carefully and answer accordingly. So they want to know if the applicant finished high school or any higher education, including university, college, or vocational training, the field of study, the year they began, what if it's their current study or not, if they completed the number of years they utilized or they completed the studies with full, if it's full-time or part-time, standing at the period of their study, if they completed and they're in good standing, or they got a certificate or a diploma, or they did not complete their studies. So if you started a program, you didn't finish it, you need to include that information. It forms a part of your profile. If you didn't complete your studies, you wouldn't get points for that education. And you won't get points for education unless it's Canadian education or you got an educational credential assessment done by WES or another of those organizations. So what I did was to indicate high school information, and these are just made up information, including the name of the institution, from when to when, and so forth. So I put in information about high school as well as information about university in Jamaica, and I made up information as well about my studies in Canada. When you study in Canada, the institution that you attended needs to have a DLI number. That's a designated learning institution. So you need to have that information on hand. You can copy it, do a Google search and find it. Do a search on IRCC's website and find the information. And then you fill that in and you go to next. Next brings you to official languages. So it asks if you can communicate in English or French. You indicate which one. If you have an official language assessment, you say yes, which test you did, CELPIP, CELPIP General, and be sure that you are doing the correct test. There are general or academic tests of language or English based on the purpose that you need it for. If it's for immigration, ensure that you're doing it the correct test and you're not doing the academic one for immigration purposes. Your application will be refused if you do the incorrect test, if you submit incorrect documentation. So you just go in and answer the questions, and the information that you need to fill out this section will be on your results document that you get for whichever test that you did. And we go to save and exit.
We are halfway in this video. Stick around. Remember to like the video, to share the video with somebody. Hit that post notification bell that whenever I post a new video, you would be one of the first persons to be notified and get to watch that video. Remember to comment. And if you know that this video was helpful for you, or you know someone that might be interested in the information that I'm presenting and sharing on today, share that video with somebody.
And I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. Application details is the next section, which basically asks you about the territory and provinces of interest, and you select multiple if you choose, or one if you have only interest in one province. What this does is basically and if you're in the pool and the province is interested in issuing you like a notification of interest to say, I want you to apply for a provincial nomination or whatever it is, then they can send you an interest based on the fact that you selected their province. I have never heard of anyone getting a notification of interest like this, but I've been following Express Entry for years, and that's something that I've always heard of. So you select next, and the other question asks if you have received a nomination certificate from a province or a territory. In this instance, there might be persons who would have gotten a nomination or a notification of nomination, and you select yes or no. So I answered yes just to see what will pop up, and it asks for your province, and it's telling me to go to previous. So, yeah. But in an instance where you get a nomination and you answer yes, you get the invitation to apply, and you accept the nomination from a province. Or after accepting the nomination from a province, you get an additional 600 points. Then you would have to put in details as well as show your nomination certificate as part of your express entry application. I know I rambled a bit. My sincere apologies. So, representative section is basically asking if you're authorizing a representative to act on your behalf in your express entry profile. If you are, please say yes. Please answer correctly or truthfully. And we're going to work history now, and then we jump quickly into the application for the spouse. So, as a principal applicant, you have to utilize a NOC. That's a National Occupational Code classification code to base your application on. So you need a primary NOC. So if you know the NOC already, my previous video that I did that I released 2 weeks ago, that walked you through how to ensure that you are selecting the correct NOC. And I also utilized a table to demonstrate how you can be sure that you're selecting the right NOC. So after you have done that, you select the NOC code that aligns with your work experience, and you indicate from when you have qualified to practice this occupation the first time. So because it's a HR NOC that I'm using, and I did an MBA and specialized in human resources management, I indicated the year that I completed my studies as when I first became eligible to uh, work in the occupation. Some people, if you don't really, you can use when you left high school, you can use your first degree as the year, depending on when you became qualified to practice or work in the occupation that you are in. Then you go to Canadian certification or of qualifications. This is basically for those that maybe have trades certifications and so forth. And you answer yes or no. Depending on your answer, they will ask you for additional information. Once you finish filling out that section, you go to your intended work in Canada. So it's asking if you have a job offer. Be sure that you do not answer yes to this question if you don't have an LMIA based job offer. Please do research and ensure that you're answering the questions correctly. The simple fact that you have an offer of employment or you're working in a job does not mean that you should answer yes to this question. The majority of persons that apply for express entry will answer no. So do your research to be sure that you're answering the questions correctly and you don't have to write a letter of explanation when once you get an invitation to apply to explain why you said yes when it should have been no. And if you have gotten any points because you said that you have um, a job offer and you get points for it and you shouldn't have gotten points, once your application is submitted and it's being reviewed, they will remove the points and you may lose that you wouldn't have been eligible to get the invitation to apply, so your application would be refused. So be careful of how you answer that. So meet different requirements depending on job type. That is, some need apprenticeship and certification, and it should be non-seasonal for federal skilled workers, and it must be full-time and for at least 1 year. So read to understand that section. So work history for the federal skilled worker program, and you need work experience, previous foreign work experience for the Canadian experience class, and that's at least 1 year of work experience for the federal skilled worker program, 1 year of continuous work experience. For the Canadian experience class, you only need 1 year of Canadian work experience, and foreign work experience in this instance is not necessary. But if you have it, always you can put that in your application if you're able to provide the necessary supporting documents. So it's asking you if I have any work experience or work history. I say yes, and it asks you the information. And similar to how you fill in the information for the education section, it's the same thing. You fill in the information up top and you select save and add, and the information will populate in a table here. You can always modify or delete the row. After you fill in the necessary information, you select next. And it will take you to the research questions. If you select, do you agree to answer these questions? You select no. The drop down or the other questions that are generated here will not show. It will just come up and you do save and next. So the information in the personal details and the study and languages for the spouse is essentially the same. In work history, just I'm going there to just fill in the information, and I'm just going to put random details here. If you're an accompanying spouse in an express entry application, only your Canadian work experience will give you points in express entry. So even if you had work experience previously, you do not have to worry about, as the spouse, that is the accompanying spouse, you do not have to worry about filling in that foreign work experience in this section because you will not get points for that. So does Harry Test have any work experience? I will say yes, and it will pull down more information to add since, and I will say since 2021. I will say September. Is this the current job? I would say yes. Work hour per week, I would put 40, and just randomly we'll look for a knock code and select it. Just be sure though, you put the right information here. So I'm just gonna put technician, technician, CIAN, and their employer, the greatest employer. That's the name of the company. And the country, Canada. Oopsie. So I'm in C and I'll go down and Canada. City, well, province, British Columbia. And the town, I'm gonna do Vancouver. Street address, randomly 126 4 75th Avenue. Postal code, I'm just gonna do random VT or V3T 99W7. Just put in a random code. I don't know if it even exists. Work, do any of the following conditions apply? Working legally in Canada during this time? Yes. Any unauthorized work is bad. So don't do it. Study full time during the job? No. Which of these category does a Harry test fall under? Work permit required? No LMIA required. Add, save and add. And I will do, so it populates here. It says current job, save and exit. And when you go down to the bottom, you will see that the application is complete. Once you click continue is when you are about to submit the application. I do not want to submit the application because this will form a part of my immigration records. I do not want to do that. This information or the information in this application is fictitious, and I will not do that. So, but once you are done and you're sure that the information you put in your application is accurate, you can always click continue. If you're not done and you want to take a break and come back another day or in another few hours, you can select save and exit, and it will take you back to your GC key account in that main area or home section of your application. So that is it for the application process. It is not my favorite thing because I don't really love filling out forms, especially forms like these that require for you to be quite accurate and precise. You just have to ensure that you read carefully, that if you don't understand something, there are sections in the application that you can cover over, maybe click on a link somewhere in the application or where the question is being asked, and it can give you more details so you are sure what it is that you're answering and putting in your profile.
I want to thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. Thank you for your support. Thanks for making it through Nikki's Lens, and I'll see you in my next video.